Wanna ride with me, catch a vibe with me, go get out with me, yeah. Shawty, I'm a riding G, I'm a dying piece, I'm a ride.
Hi and welcome. So there's 3 ways to fire the Hellfire in the DCS Apache. I'll show you the most fun way first off. So we're just going to push 2 on the keyboard to jump into the front view, push down left control and V on the keyboard, and then tap W until we've got an altitude of about 300 on the bottom left. We've got 320, that'll do. It'll now take us up to 320, and while it's doing that, I'm just going to show you the controls that we need set up on the joystick. So we'll go into adjust controls. The tricky bit is make sure up here you get it selected to CP/G. Can't be on the pilot, it has to be CP/G. Enter into that. So what we need to have set up is this. We need to have set up the LHG Weapons Action WAS switch to set it to missile mode. We also need to know what the RHG Sight Select Switch TADS Switch is. So they're the first 2 things. Then we also need to know what our trigger is. So RHG LRFD trigger for the first detent and also the second detent. We need to know what that is, and then we also, that's going to be firing the laser. And then we also need to know what the LHG weapons trigger switch is. So just the first detent will do for that, and that will then fire off the actual missile. Now to try and select the target, we need to know what we've got for the RHG manual tracker, MAN track switches, so left, right, up and down. We need to know what that is. You may want to use this, the LHG TADS sensor select switch for TV mode and also to FLIR. Make sure you know what you're set to those 2. Mostly just this one for the TV mode, LHG TADS sensor select switch for the TV. So that's the other thing you want to know. And then to zoom in and find your target, you might want to know what the LHG TADS FOV switch is. So M for medium, narrow and then wide, so you can change the view. If you've got that set to something, that will also help. So let's just try and continue. That's all the controls though. So the helicopter's going up. We've got a target, it's only 1.8 kilometers away, so this is not going to be super difficult. First thing is just down here to click on this to make sure it's armed. So the armor is on. You'll notice it says armed down here. Then we're going to push on this button, which we're going to have to keep changing to the CP/G. I'm going to push this very quickly. This one here, LHG Weapons Action Switch for the missile. And then I'm going to push this, the RHG Sight Select Switch for the TADS. So I'm going to do those 2. So here, I'm going to push the right for the missile, left for the TADS. To get rid of this on the screen, just push I on the keyboard. That's gone. Great. Now we've got to find our target and move around. So to do that, we're just going back into here. We're going to be using this, the PNVS mode switches. Sorry, definitely not going to be doing that. I've got to keep changing it. We're going to be doing this, the RHG manual tracker switch. So up, down, left and right. Great. And then I'm going to use this switch, the LHG TADS sensor select switch, to change it to TV mode. And I'm also going to use this switch here, the LHG TADS FOV switch, to get it into narrow mode. Okay, so if we go and start doing that, so we're going to move this view around down here. Now just be aware that you need to get rid of this left control and V on the bottom left. So left control and V, get rid of him. Make sure that is not up if it's not working for you. Now we can move it around. So then we need to zoom in. So I'm just changing it to that narrow mode. We're into the narrow mode. And I still can't work out where the target is. There we are. It's next to these couple of trees. So there's our target. And then I'm going to push to change it to the TV mode. And we've now got a big blow up on the screen. So now there's only 2 other things we need to push. +G. We're going to be firing this, the LHG FD trigger, first detent, we have to hold that button down, and then to the second detent. So just holding this down, that's going to fire the laser, and then we're going to push the LHG weapons trigger switch on the first detent. That will fire the missile. So that's the next part that we have to do. Let's give that a go. So we'll click cancel. We'll go back to here. So I'm going to hold down the laser. You'll notice we've got a little box in the bottom left. And then we're going to hold down to fire. And then we'll just watch it. We can see the missile up there, and we can see the missile going to hit our target down there in our view, and target destroyed. So that's the most fun way, and that's the first way you can fire a missile Hellfire in this helicopter. Now this is the second way. On your joystick, you only have to set up one button, okay? So all you need to set up is this, consent to fire. We just need that, consent to fire. Okay, so we've got that out of the way. I'm going to jump into the front position with 2 on the keyboard. Once I've done that, left controller V on the keyboard to bring up the menu, and to raise the altitude, W on the keyboard. So I'm just going to tap W until we get up to about 300. 320 will do, let go, and then you'll notice he's got the command to go all the way up to 300 and 20 in the bottom left there. So I'll let him get us up to there, or close to 150, 200. Now our target's out there. I've left the labels on so we can see what's going on, but that's our little target out there. And now we're going to jump back to the back view. So just going to push 1 on the keyboard. Now what we need to do is left control and V on the keyboard. Great. And now we're just going to change the Hellfire. So A on the keyboard. Now, yeah, he's got that Hellfire. Now we need to get him to find that target. So it's W on the keyboard.
And slaving.
He's found it.
Target is stored.
And he's got it. So now all we need to do is a single button, which I was showing you before, to consent to fire. So we hold down consent to fire.
Engaging. Engaging.
He shoots. And target destroyed. So that's the one way you can do it. Now this is the third way. Let's look down here. We're on the ground, so we're going to click the ground override. But if you're in the sky, just push this button here and arm. Go down to here, click weapon. Okay, now we need to put our helicopter into the sky. We're just going to casually take off. Remember to give it a little bit of left rudder. And we're casually taking off. We'll keep going, because what we need to do is head forwards a little bit. Now what we need to do is hold down on the keyboard, left control and V. Left control and V. It'll bring up a menu in the bottom left. We then need to push on the keyboard the letter A. It changes it to Hellfire. Great. Now we can see our targets ahead of us. They're the red writing. I've left the labels on for the video. Next, we just want to quickly show you the controls. 3 things we need to click on the joystick will be this: weapons action switch right. We also need to click weapons trigger guard, open close. And we also need to be able to hold down the weapons trigger switch, first detent, or whatever you've got it set to. Let's click that and get out. So now we want to get ourselves aiming at the target. Look at the target area and hold down W on the keyboard.
Slaving. Deslaving.
It'll give you a selection of targets. Push D on the keyboard.
Target is stored.
Once you've got that, and he said it's stored, you can then push the weapon guard button. And then you can push the right button. And now all we need to do is hold down the trigger. So those 2 buttons I just pushed were weapons action switch and the weapons trigger guard. And the next button we need to push is the weapons trigger switch. That's it, and then that's all we need to do. So we'll just keep ourselves aimed towards the target area, and then hold down the trigger. It is launched. We'll just keep ourselves aimed towards the target. Here's the missile. And target destroyed. And that's it. So we want to select another target, W.
And deslaving.
D.
Placed and stored.
Then we're just going to push right. And then hold the trigger. We can follow the missile.
Target destroyed.
And that's how we do it. Okay, so we want to use rockets. So the first thing we've got to do is go down to here. We'll click override because we're on the ground, and click arm. Go over to here, click weapon, WPN. Go down to here, and this knob here, we're going to spin all the way around to the right, so it's on bright. Go back over to here, click on bore sight, and click on IHAD-SS. Up here we can see this. So next we're going to go over to here, and we're going to push this button here, bore sight polarity switch. So we line it up, push on the keyboard to bring up the display, and then line it up and push that bore sight polarity switch. That's all done. So now we want to bring up the rockets. So we're going to push left. So I'll show you that button. Wherever you have it, we need the weapon action switch left. And for now, we've hit that and we can get ourselves up into the sky. So let's do that. Let's get ourselves up into the sky. And we're just casually taking off. And we're hovering. Alright, let's move over towards where the target is, over this way. And we'll see if we can line ourselves up. Pretty much we need to have the plane aimed at the target, and we use our head tracking to aim at the target as well. We can test it out if you want by just holding down the fire. So it's going to shoot about there at the moment. And you can see it shoots there. So we've got a target up here. Keep the helicopter pointed towards where the target is. Move the head onto the target. And then we can begin to take shots. I'm way too high for it, I think. And I believe we got the target. So that is the rockets. So we're going to use the guns in this helicopter. Similar. We're going to remove that with I on the keyboard. We're on the ground, so I'm just going to click on override and then make it arms. Click on weapon. Go down to here. Change this all the way around to the right, so it's on bright. Go back over to here, bore sight. you've already done this, obviously you won't need to, but at some point on the ground you need to do this process. I had SS, left click once, look up here, and again we're going to go and click on this button, the bore sight polarity switch. So we line it up, we push your eye on the keyboard to bring up the head display on the eye, line it up, push that button, and that's the end of that. Now, if we look outside the aircraft, so I look to the right, there's no movement. So there's one more step that we've got to do, and that button is going to be for the guns. So we're going to push this button, weapon action switch, G up. The up part is important, weapon action switch. So we go and push that, and you'll notice down here it says rounds now. So if you have been on rockets, that's rockets, and then up would be rounds. So we only have to push that once. If you want to get off it, you just push it again and it goes away. So that's rounds. So then we can look up here and we can take off and we can take some shots around the place. But we just want to show that now if I look to the right, you'll notice the gun is pointing to the right, and then if I look to the left, now the gun is pointing to the left, and I bring it back to the center, and the gun is now in the center. So it's now following us. So we'll just take off gently. Gonna need a lot more left right than that. Was I carrying the fuel tanks? No, just the rockets at the moment. And then you take off. I did do a little bit of testing just to see what the endurance range of the aircraft is, but I'm a bit unsure at the moment how to take off with 4 fuel tanks. It may not be the case that you can do that, but it is quite difficult to fly with 4 fuel tanks, so I'm not sure what the maximum range is yet, but it should be at least about 500. So now we'll spin around and then we'll have a go at shooting or something. So in the middle of that over there to the right, and we'll put some bullets in there. Weapon guard. And then we go over to the left hand side and shoot over here. Okay, not too bad. And then from weapon, you can change it to all. Try and head over towards where the target is, and we'll see how we go. I'm using the Tobii Archer 5. Critical damage, it says. That was my first pass. And it's on fire down there. Pull. Spin it around. Target destroyed. I think we can use the Tobii Tracker 5 for that purpose. And this is only the day after release day at the moment, so I haven't had very much time with it, but I think with practice we'll get even better with that. But we have destroyed it on the first attempt, so that's not too bad. Great, so that's the guns. Hey and welcome. So just something I've been trying to work out. It seems like this aircraft helicopter has a couple of different video modes. So you can go and put it on down here, the NVS, by turning it on. I've also set it up on my controller so I can just turn it on like so, and then I can turn it off. But once you're into this mode, it seems to have two modes which have different speeds. So if you look around, you'll notice there's this mode which is really slow. So I look to the right and then I look to the left, and it's just taking forever to actually show me what I'm looking at. And then I can go back to the center and it's still quite slow. Or you can swap to this mode, which is pretty much instant. Now if you're just playing single player and by yourself, you probably want to be sitting in this instant mode most of the time. So one way you can work out which mode you're in, it seems, is you're looking down here, and can you see these little dashes inside the box? There's 4 of them. That's the fast mode. So if you've just got 4 of them up, that's the fast mode. And then if you have these extra ones, so there's 1, 2, 3 and 4. If you have these extra ones, it becomes the really slow mode. So you look to the right, it's trying to catch up, look to the left, and we're still waiting for it to catch up, and it's got there finally. So yeah, when you get rid of them, it's fast mode. So to find out what the controls are for that, go into here and type NVS, and you'll notice there's something called PNVS, and then there's TADS. So I've set that to one of my controls on my joystick so I can swap between them, and then I've also set it so I can turn it off and back to norm. If you wanted to use it as fixed, I could just use the physical switch, so I don't need that. So that's what you're looking for. Type in NVS and you can see PNVS and TADS. Took me a little while to try and work that out, and so yeah, now if we turn it off we can turn it back on, and then we look to the left and it's really fast, and that's good. So that's just one thing to note. And just some imagery of the Searchlight, you can kind of see what it can do. That's the Searchlight, and you can move it around as you're flying. Bring it up, forwards, back, and so forth. But yeah, that's the Searchlight, that's what it looks like. And you can see the light there.